Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 55 of the Peak of Serenity podcast. As always, I am one of your hosts, Emerson, and I am joined by my co host, Anomaly.
Hello.
And this week we're hitting most just like recent events kind of things. We're going to talk about BlizzCon, which is coming up, and also go through some of the many hotfixes we had, or hotfixes, other changes, news that happened this week. So it might be a little bit on the shorter side. We'll see how much we like to guess what's going to happen at BlizzCon.
I like how we always start shows off with it. This one might be a little shorter,
And then
and
it's like
four and
two
a half
hours
hours
plus.
later, yeah,
Yeah.
2 hours later, we're still here. So cool. Yeah, I guess we can jump right in. Real quick. How is your just take a quick step back? How are you feeling? I know you were a little sick under the weather. You feeling better this week?
Doing better. Doing better.
Awesome.
Started
Awesome.
feeling like vaguely normal again on like Wednesday
hmm
and doing a lot better now. So
Nice. How's your progression going? Do you guys have council down yet?
we killed Council last week.
Awesome.
And did not actually quite finish our reclear last week. We ended up with Enerva left.
hmm
So we didn't get to go and do Sludgefest because what we did is we killed just the bosses that were necessary to go and press Council.
hmm
And then we killed Council. And then we went and back cleared, basically.
Gotcha.
Um, and so we had Darkvein left to kill, and we ended up deciding to extend at this point because we were very sure that we could make the DPS check on Sludgefest.
Yeah.
So yesterday we went in, one shot Darkvein, started on Sludge.
Nice. We had multiple half percentage point wipes this week to Sludgefest. Did not kill it, but spent an
Oh,
entire day on it with I think we had 4 sub half percent wipes. So
we are not that far yet. We have reached the fourth pillar like once. Been
yeah.
messy when we've gotten there, like four dead, and we're not killing at that point in the fight.
Yeah.
Too tightly tuned, but we're getting there. I
Nice.
wouldn't be totally surprised to see a kill tomorrow
Awesome.
because we got another 4 hours on it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, a lot can happen.
Yeah,
Might
no.
not be till next week.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, awesome. Well, sorry, I wanted to take a quick step back, just see how that was going.
Yeah, yeah.
And now we can jump into what happened this week. So, a couple of things. Got on our little list here. First up is kind of an MDI weekend one. We'll talk about this one as a large sort of section, but it is MDI weekend. It's going on, I think, even right now as we record this. The final games of the day are, but only 8 teams are participating of the 8 that are needed, which
Yeah.
is interesting. I know that coming out of last week, there was a little bit of sort of, yeah, hey, this is a huge time commitment. I mean, even before the last one, right?
Yeah.
You had JB Lighty, sorry, Lighty from Golden Guardians quitting just basically because it took too much time, right?
It took
Um,
too much time, and it was actually like negative money for him to do
yeah,
it because he couldn't.
exactly.
It was 5 days of streaming revenue lost while he did time trials, and then the reward from winning the cup did not make up for
Exactly. Exactly. So we saw sort of, some inklings of that already. This sort of just, I think, reinforces maybe this many competitive PvE events isn't what you need in Mythic Plus, right? Maybe it's better as sort of a end of season or like once a season larger scale tournament
it. Yeah.
over multiple weeks, right?
So I'm gonna plug the Titan Forge podcast. They talked about this on their most recent episode, and Trell is an MDI competitor. I think
Mm-hmm.
Petals and Dratnos both cast it.
They did it.
Um, so they have pretty good idea of what they're talking about, and like I think the one thing that Trell was very clear on was that the time trials needed to not the entire week, and they needed to not have the actual games on Friday. Because if you can't actually play for that extended period of time on Friday,
Yeah.
then you just can't compete.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, the timing I think is awful unless you you either have, when you're in college, you have the time you can take, or you have a job where you can work around that schedule, right?
Right.
Um, so yeah, I think, yeah, all those things sort of go against it.
Yeah, and it's the kind of
Um,
thing where like if it were once, they could get
yeah.
away with doing it on a Friday because most people can afford to take maybe a day off of work
Hmm.
every year. Like that's not that big of an take a day off and or even more than that, take the week off.
Right.
Maybe that's a little bit of a big ask in the United States, but um, it's not that unreasonable if it happens once every tier or 2 tiers.
Right.
Uh, once a week,
It's a tough one.
yeah,
That's definitely that's a yeah, it's a tough ask for somebody to have that much time off. So, but yeah, I mean, it's not a lot of teams participating, only 8. And I mean, I felt like it was the same. At least what I watched. Right, I didn't watch any on Friday, or I caught maybe actually I caught the Echo and Golden Guardian series on Friday, or was that earlier today? I forget. But it's the same 3 teams, right? It's like PI
yeah,
Me, Echo, and Golden Guardians is like the only 3 teams that actually matter. So, um, yeah, I think the biggest thing, I think what they did this season in terms of like limiting class stacking, I think that's a good change. But the increase in of the increase in the amount of like tournament days is just not helpful, right?
yeah,
Like it doesn't I don't think it increases the competition. It might increase viewership, right? It might increase more eyeballs like watching WoW esports and things like that. But in terms of like the quality of the games, I think it actually potentially ruins it, right?
yeah. And it's one of those things too where like they can do more frequent like PvP events because I mean you might get bored of watching the same I don't know what like warrior holy paladin X smash
Right.
into each other melee cleave kind of games or watching people get globaled by fire mages. Yeah, you might get bored of that over time, but even
Hmm.
if they're playing the same comps in an arena match, every single match still has tension and is still interesting.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of MDI matches where it's like, Echo versus number 8 seed. And
It's like, does
sometimes the
Echo
number
make
8 seed is great and like upsets all of that. Sometimes Nagi clicks a Valkyrie or whatever and gets sent back to the start of the
no, yeah.
zone. But a lot of the time, there's just no tension, and it's just like watching someone do a dungeon. Admittedly, doing the dungeon very quickly with some very
Right.
large pulls.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about
But
this a little bit. I think there's a ton of UI changes, like
yeah,
regardless of the actual like cadence of it. Like the UI in AW Arena World Championship, so
yeah,
AWC, is honestly miles better than the UI for MDI, just in terms of like the spectator UI side of it.
yeah,
And I don't know if it's like maybe there's less people, like there's less you need to show, right? But I think there's a way that you can make it slightly more interesting, and more easy for individuals to realize like the difficulty in doing some of these polls. So, um, yeah, I mean, it's I don't know.
I mean,
I
honestly,
think it's
like
telling.
I think it also is a little bit telling that I don't have numbers on this, but I'd be very surprised if the MDI this weekend had more viewers than that. What was it? Korean streamer where they did
Oh
had
yeah,
the
doing the
almost
17.
24-hour
Yeah.
spires.
That's true. Yeah, no, yeah, that would be definitely yeah, it would be interesting to
Like
see the numbers they
that
pull.
that that was spectacle versus like competition, but every like competition needs spectacle for people interested, I think.
Right, yeah. Yeah,
Like
which is why I tuned into to Going Guardians and Echo, because I was like, well, this
yeah,
will be a good idea to see like the 2 best teams go at it, but like I don't care about Golden Guardians, whoever they played in the first round, right? Like, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what they'll do. It'll be interesting to see how MDI sort of filters out the rest of the year. But I mean, I think ultimately we're going to end up with like the same 3 to 4 teams. Yeah, I think Lincoln mentions like Perplexed, right? So you got Perplexed, PI Me, which is Dr. J's team, like Golden Guardians, and then Echo. Like those 4 sort of battle it out week over week. We'll see the same for BlizzCon. At the end of the day, either Echo wins or Echo makes a mistake, and whoever they make a mistake against wins, right? Like, I think that's
yeah.
how the MDI turns out this year, unfortunately. So,
It
um,
yeah. It's unfortunate, but what I really hope doesn't happen, like I could see it hitting the point that there's actually not even 8 teams, and just like one team gets a bye, and
God.
that's gonna
Yeah.
be there. There is no softening that bad news when that
Well, I mean,
happens.
I think it's almost worth it for like someone like me to uh put together a team for a weekend and just try and get time trials done, and maybe I get to be on like the BlizzCon's, you know what I mean, like the Warcraft live stream for the however many people are there, and
Yeah,
get, the boy Dratnos who was here on the podcast, get my boy Dratnos to talk about how amazing I am at playing
be the
healer in another
only
class.
Mistweaver in the
I would
MDI.
I would, you know what I mean? Like, look, we'll represent that way. Like that may be my way
I
in. You know what I
actually,
mean?
it actually kind of sounds like fun. Just be like the team name is going for completion,
Yeah, 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 yeah. Or like
and
weekly
that's
no leaver.
just
Yeah.
like get into the MDI solely based on having completed each of the dungeons at level 18.
Yeah, yeah. Like that, I don't know. That might be it might be a fun like I think if it gets to that point, if people start actually like memeing it, like that's when we have a problem. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely
You want to do that?
if I
That sounds
I
like
mean,
fun, actually. I thought.
if I could put we
do you
should
do your time
I,
trials keys have to actually be within the timer, or do you have to just complete them?
I don't think so. I think you just I think there is a limit, but
Okay,
like it doesn't have to be under it. Like there's like you I don't know. We'd have to read the rules.
yeah.
Maybe that's something we talk about next
Because
time.
like I can do a plus 18, whatever. Like it might not be in the timer, but we'll finish it.
Like, exactly. I have plenty of hours to give to this game. So,
I have
uh,
I have fewer hours right now, but
yeah,
I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
exactly. Like we get to be on MDI stream. Come on.
God, that
But no, I
sounds
think
hilarious.
it'd be pretty good. It'd be pretty good. Um,
Like I can't get over this image in my head of like the MDI casters having to go back and forth between like an actual MDI team like playing against Echo, and they're like doing the actual MDI pulls, and then there's another team, there's us,
there's us like
just like
doing like the
pulling
normal
one pack at
live
a
routes.
time, missing kicks, and it goes, oh, there's Emilson. He got one shot because he didn't roll out of the tank buster correctly. In
Oh my
this
god.
one pack pull.
God, it'd be so good. It would be so good. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think we're slowly approaching like there's going to be a team like that at some point. I feel like so.
Yeah,
Oh man. All right. Well, that's MDI. I think Echoes in the finals. I know Golden Guardians and PIME are going on right now. Um, so yeah, it's gosh, it'll be interesting to see what they can do the next couple weeks. So. All right, so next up on this week in Warcraft, we had a world first kill of the most difficult order for Blood Council, apparently. So they did, Nick, Stave, and then Freya or Frida,
yeah,
in that order, which
fucking madmen.
is actually insane. Um, so I, funnily enough, had to look this up.
Okay,
Uh,
okay. Explain to me what happens in this version of the fight, because I didn't actually look any deeper than seeing the headline and going, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, so apparently when Freya's the last one alive, right? She gains she essentially gains this like thing called soul
I know
spikes.
about that. So that's
Okay.
that's a mechanic that shows up on Heroic as well. So like phase two, she does the thing where like when you take damage from her, it spawns a puddle under you, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's like, don't drop puddles in bad places. And then in phase three, she gets Soul Spike, which is a thing on the tank. It
Right.
just like hits them 5 times with a physical attack that like does increasingly more damage, and also does damage to the raid based on the amount of damage that the tank took. Except like Uzala, it ignores Stagger and
Exactly.
Celestial Brew. So you cannot have a Brewmaster do that. You have to have another tank that has actual D.
Right, yeah, and I think you actually want to almost tank swap. Okay, I guess according to what I read, you want to tank swap in the middle of the soul
You
spike.
can't.
You can't? It's got us. Oh, interesting.
You
Okay.
apparently could on beta. You cannot right now.
Gotcha. Oh,
You
fair
will
enough then.
continue casting on the initial target,
Gotcha. Okay. So then
as far
that's
as I
bad.
know.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean that's like actually ri- ridiculous, right? And then I don't. Is there anything new on Mythic? I think it's yeah. I think it's just the after images, right?
Yeah.
So um, the one thing about the after image of Nicholas, right, is that he'll continue to spawn the dutiful attendants throughout the fight. So like that's what you're dealing with. So yeah, after the fight. So in their order, they killed Nick first, or Nicholas first. So they basically had to deal with these attendants the entire time, which is like
They still had the hardest mechanic for the whole game.
yeah, yeah, which is just crazy. So I mean, these guys did it. Good, more power to them. It's funny. I don't think they got any better loot, right? Like I don't think this is one of those like council bosses where
No.
like the order you kill him, your loot's different. So
And imagine if
um,
they brought back hard modes and it was like hard mode, council dropped 4 pieces instead of two.
that'd be so good. That'd be awesome. God, that was those those fights were so much fun. Like when what was it? What was was the first one the Old War one with the three stone people? Oh shoot, what's the name of that boss?
So Lincoln in chat is saying they had to do it because of group comp. They didn't have any DKs to grip in the attempt. You don't need DKs to grip in the like
Wait, you can grip the attendants? Our DKs didn't do anything.
you
Like they
can grip
just
them before they start channeling, I believe. I'm
okay,
not
okay.
entirely sure. Like we just swapped to them. Like
Yeah.
melee can get off. The DPS check at this point is not that tight. You can just have melee go and hit them. They can waddle their way out there and hit them, and then waddle back, and it's fine.
Yeah.
There's one that's like pretty spicy because it overlaps with some other things happening at the very end during when you're killing Nicholas in the normal
Hmm.
strat. But it's like you still get the attendance even if you kill Nicholas first.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's
Um,
true. So that didn't really
and
change
the
anything.
waiters, like, you don't kill waiters in phase three. You kill them in phase two. But
Yeah.
phase three, like, you just don't touch them. Rage the big guy, you die.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess like the idea is then the biggest issue is that just Frida's stuff. I always want to say Freya, but Frida's one boss dead and two boss dead abilities are just honestly annoying. I guess it's the space issue is probably the biggest one, right?
Yeah. Um, I know there's ways to cheese Soul Spike.
Hmm.
As far as I know, it goes through immunes, but like there's several classes with really big low cooldown PR abilities. Like you can fiery brand it and much less damage. Fiery brand plus demon spike very large.
Oh, well.
Um, so that one actually is not as bad as it seems in terms of just like raid damage, but
Hmm.
in terms of like base, I don't know. That sounds spooky.
It's just like I know that when we kill like we're still terrible at Dark Recital when we have to like there's that one point we have to do it with the knockback of the ad and like the final push
Yeah,
and like we still lose people to that. So I'm like I
we
can't
totally
imagine
lost
having to
people.
like constantly reshift. So
Yeah.
so yeah, but
For
that
reference, like we just killed Council last week. We did it with one DK. Like yes, okay, so one DK. Therefore, you could. I don't even know if attendants are grippable. I guess they probably are, and we just didn't know. We didn't grip any. Like
yeah. We
we
just
just
we
went and parked their asses out there, and we killed them.
yeah.
Um, so we didn't really use the grips. We did use grabby hands at the end of phase two to grip in waiters and kill those, which
Hmm.
is again good, but you know, at, I don't know,
Yeah. That's
any
what
range they can swap and kill the waiters. We actually had to stop DPS on Stavros to push at the right time so we wouldn't start so that we wouldn't have an attendant spawn in the middle of our bloodlust, basically.
gotcha. Yeah, we try and do that. Our DPS isn't very good at stopping.
Yeah,
So
I think on our kill we actually screwed it up too.
nice, yeah. And the nice part about that boss too, just as a quick aside, is that like it's super easy now for some reason. Like we one shot it this week
Yeah,
on our second kill. So
we are not re-clearing right now. Uh, we extended. I still think that's the correct choice from a like trying to get rankings. Rankings. I know
yeah,
people for us,
I
but
think so too. Because I think you get sludge. I think you get council and sludge in the same week. Like that's an easy like sludge is like a 4 or 5 hour boss. I feel like in terms of like where at least where I sit, right? So similar to you. So
yeah.
um so yeah, but that's they did the crazy order. It's nuts. So, um, All right, so next up we have tank damage nerfs across the board. So essentially, this was something that was announced, I think, on Monday, right?
Yes.
And essentially, a blanket nerf to every dungeon. Essentially, there was a reduction in tank damage going out from a various number of abilities.
So they
And they
missed the
all,
most important one. You
which
said a blanket
was,
nerf, but
yes.
honestly, like a lot of these are totally irrelevant. They're not. I guess that's wrong.
Oh,
They're not
okay.
totally irrelevant. They kill tanks. Like, let's be real. They kill tanks. But you know what really kills tanks? Auto attacks.
Gotcha. So this is all just, yeah, gotcha. So it's
So
mostly ability based
like,
nerfs then.
there are packs that I am scared of that do not have that are not at all impacted by these changes. Because
Gotcha.
auto attacks hurt.
Okay.
Especially there are mobs that have very fast auto attack speeds but don't always have the correct um, damage reduction applied to their auto attacks to make for it. There's a couple that hit
Gotcha.
really fast. I think inspires, and it's just I don't know. Some of these are really good. Like Insidious Venom in Spires of Ascension now gets cast less often. That's applies a dot. It's kickable. The dot is a magic dot and can be dispelled by your healer, but
Mhm.
they cast it so often. It was really annoying. Like, okay, MDI team's not gonna have a problem with it, as we saw.
Oh yeah.
Pugs though, asking pugs to get kicks. Ooh,
So
yeah,
I love the kick tracker I have that doesn't show people's names until they kick. So like I love looking at that like 75% of the way through the dungeon and seeing like some melee DPS not on that list. I'm just like, dude, can you just like kick once? Like just we've been in here for literally 15, 20 minutes. Like you've had to have found a chance to kick something. So
yeah. I mean, I did the other side, and or tried to. We got to the pack before the Hakar wing that has the caster in it, the big caster that casts Shadow Core.
yep.
I was the only. We had our boom. I take that back. We had a boomkin. They used their kick, but it's on a 1 minute cooldown.
Yeah.
So then once I started kiting, nobody was kicking, and I just died, and then the group expanded. I went back in with a different
Uh,
group, and everybody was kicking, and it was completely fine. It turns
it's
out
easy.
if your group kicks, everything's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there are some things in here that are not kickable that were reduced by 40 to 50% damage. People are
There's
freaking out over there's a Zolramus Bone Carver in the necrotic wig. Bone flay bleed damage reduced by 70% and duration reduced from 20 seconds to 10 seconds. People are seeing that and going 70%. Holy.
yeah.
The ability was also bugged, so the bleed damage was reduced by armor, or I don't know, bugged. Bleeds aren't typically reduced by armor, so this one is actually less of a nerf than like it actually impacts brewmasters more than anything else because of low armor.
Right. Yep.
Um, so this is a lot bigger for us, but something like a prop paladin or warrior with higher armor is going to feel less of that change. But then there's stuff like corroded claws from Plaguefall reduced by 50%, soul split from Tyrannus Scythe reduced by 40%, severing slice from Sanguine Depths reduced by 50%. Oh, Sanguine Depths, the animated swords have really, really bad autos. I think they might be magic damage. Uh, they're really, really bad. So
You're screwed.
you still have to kite because they have the swords. And like once the swords comes out, it's sayonara. Either you're dying or you're running.
Right. Right.
It's really bad. But yeah,
I
these are
hate
all good
Sanguine.
changes. They are not nearly enough. Not even a
Gotcha.
little. Uh,
Yeah.
although I am very happy about the other associated change. Bosses
Boss
in
health.
Tyrannical now have 30% increased health instead of 40%.
It's like that's a really good change.
I'm happy about that.
Yeah. Bosses, I mean, yeah,
I don't
some
like
bosses
Tyrannical.
took forever. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's not and it wasn't it was less of a like, yeah. It just I don't know. I feel like with fortified, like the boss length just feels right. And then as you add that 30% health, it just certain bosses just become so much more difficult just with like
Yeah.
certain phases lasting
Hikar.
longer.
Oh man,
Oh,
Hikar got
car, yeah.
so much harder because if you're not familiar with how the fight works, he starts casting the shields with increased frequency, with increased, or maybe not. It's either size or frequency or both. I don't
Mhm.
know. But that means the longer the fight goes on, it's not necessarily 40% more because all those later shields are bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right.
So now instead of it being 40% longer, it's maybe 60 shields. And
The
like
boss
when you start
sucks.
reaching the point that you actually don't break the shield before he finishes channeling, you're in for.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that. Yeah, that. And even like the last boss in Theater of Pain can be annoying with depending on how you push that final phase. Like it pushed the 50% mark with her. And then like just some of the overlaps there are just like awful.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean solid changes at least in some of the reduction. It sounds like it was not as big as I thought it was. I saw all these changes. I was like, oh, this is great. But yeah, it sounds
Yeah.
like it was just on some potential
I mean,
abilities that it didn't matter anyway.
what I
So
would like to see, I would like to see just a blanket 20% reduction in auto attack damage taken across the board from trash mobs. They can start with trash mobs. Bosses probably deserve it too. Trash mobs, start there. And like 20% I feel is probably too low for some of these polls,
right.
but it's a start.
Yeah.
There's
That's
some dungeons is probably fine. Some dungeons is maybe not enough, but
fair enough. So, I mean, maybe we'll see some more adjustments, but yeah, I can tell you for sure, like my desire to run keys is a lot lower, and we think we talked about this. So,
yeah. I haven't
yeah,
run a key this week. I kept out my PvP row. I'm unable to get mythic loot from the raid row because ending is
yeah,
fantastic.
that sucks.
Um, but I kept out my PvP. Uh, and I can only get 213 gear from it right now still because I haven't had time to push 1800. But here we are.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. All right. So as we move on, the next up was they made a quick change. I mean, this is just a quick one, but Vantis runes got buffed also with the reset, so they are now 100 of versatility instead of 40. It's a very solid change. I
Yeah,
mean, at
basically
40,
it's 30. It is 2.5% damage increase instead of.
right? Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
and for reference, the Vantage runes at the end of BFA were either 2% or 2.5%. So,
It is probably bring
uh-oh. I think I'm back.
you're back. You are back. I don't think anything happened
All right,
stream wise.
cool. I need to. Oh, my camera's not on. Hey, cool. Nice black box in
There we go.
two. Gonna have the board for just a little bit while I get that.
That's fair.
There we go. We're all good now.
Awesome. Awesome.
That's annoying. Yeah, so basically at the end of BFA, we had very similar Ventus turns to what we have now. I don't know why it was decreased. It's probably just an oversight while they were rescaling secondary stats. They
Yeah.
tuned it down too much.
Yeah, it's weird that they're just catching up to something like that now, but yeah, is what it is at this point. So, but yeah, just wanted to quickly pop that one up. Um, we also had another quick one, just LFR Wing 4 open, so now all the casuals can kill Sarah and Denathrius.
I cannot wait to see
No, I'm
r
kidding.
slash wow going on about Denathrius. It's not going to be
I
N'Zoth bad,
Yeah, no,
but
not that bad. But it'll be interesting. I kind of part of me wants to jump in just to see how it's going, maybe tonight after we get done here. But yeah, they open that wing up. So get your kills. Actually, the biggest thing too is that opens it's not just Denathrius, right? Who is in this wing? I actually didn't check.
it should be
Is it
Denathrius and Stone Legion generals. Maybe
Stone
Sludge
Legion?
Fist as
Yeah.
well. It's usually two
Um
bosses for the last wing.
yeah, so it's Stone Legion and Denathrius. So that way, get the rest of the biggest thing would be get any legendary patterns you're missing, right? From Stone Legion. So
Yeah, that's actually
yeah.
really kind of good for alts. It's getting a normal run is on an alt that's relatively fresh is still a little bit of a pain because people are so stingy about inviting low eye level characters. So many
Right.
so many pugs are carried by eye level. So if you do need one on an alt and you don't want to find a normal pug, you can do LFR. It's probably going to be faster than suffering through a normal pug, but also worse.
Yeah. Yeah. But it'll be but yeah, that is now open. more content. You can see the end of the story, at least for yourself if you haven't watched anything earlier. So, which now I know a lot more about the story.
Yeah.
All right. So, other big news is the Horde Hall of Fame closed today. Of course, the Hall of Fame is first 100 guilds of either faction go into the Hall of Fame that have, or sorry, first 100 guilds that have killed the mythic version of the end boss of the tier go into a Hall of Fame. Your guild gets a really cool guild title when that happens. You're sort of immortalized on the Blizzard website, and your guild sort of kills listed there. So the Horde one closed this week. The Alliance one is close. At the time that the Horde one closed, there was 12 Alliance guilds that had killed Sardonathrius. So there was, what is that, 88 spots open?
Yeah.
So
We have not
that was really,
seen something this low since Uldir. Uldir had
yeah.
12. The other BFA tiers had more, not that much more. Uh,
So as of this recording, though, I will give the Alliance the benefit of the doubt. They have pushed this week, and there's 24 guilds now that have killed
oh, that's actually more than I
Nathrius.
expected.
Yeah. It's funny. Only two guilds from the Americas have been added to this list, and then you have two, four, five guilds from Europe have added into those additional 12. So it's about seven of the 12 from those two regions, and then the rest are from the West, so from either China or Taiwan, actually.
Yeah.
Um, there was a little bit of I don't know if we talked about this, but there was a little bit of a funny thing that came out when this was posted, which was that a lot of the Chinese guilds that are killing Denathrius now have basically cleared the entire raid in a week. Essentially, all of their kills are within 1 week from a mythic perspective. They all have only one kill of the boss. So there's a little bit, and I can't back this up with any actual evidence, but there are some insinuations that folks are basically creating guilds and selling the Hall of Fame title um, to folks. So
Yeah, I mean, this has
see what
been
they think about that.
that's been something that people have speculated about for a long time because those titles are worth something to someone.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, that is Horde Hall of Fame close. So get your kills in this week if you're trying to. I know there's a few guilds the Overtime Police has been keeping an eye on, maybe that have been putting a couple extra hours in this weekend just to get in there. But yeah, as of reset, Horde Hall of Fame's closed.
This is actually one that was super awkward from a EU NA perspective as well, because the day that the 100th guild killed it was Tuesday,
Right.
which meant that NA actually has until this coming reset on Tuesday in order to get their Denathrius kill in and get Hall of Fame. Uh, EU had until Wednesday, like this previous Wednesday.
Yep.
So there's actually a almost entire 1 week difference in who could get in the Hall of Fame comparing NA to EU. Really awkward.
Yeah. The EU definitely missed out on a reset for this one. So,
Um,
um, yeah, that's it sucks for the EU. It sucks for that we have that sort of split, you know, reset. I understand the reasonings, but yeah, Horde Hall of Fame still it was closed. Alliance still very much open. You have essentially 75 spots to get in there. So maybe re-roll some Alliance characters. You have a couple weeks if you want Hall of Fame. Um, all right, cool. All right, so real quick before we go to the final one, just one little. You put this fun fact on here. I didn't. I feel like I knew this, but I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna say I did not know this. But
I had
basic,
forgotten that.
yeah,
Like I
but
knew this
basically,
during beta. They
yeah.
added Curse of Weakness back, and I forgot about it. Curse of Weakness, if you don't know what it does, actually let me. It basically says your auto attacks hit less frequently, and yeah, increases the time between an enemy's attacks by 20% for 2 minutes on an instant. It's a curse. All of the Warlock curses are used now, so there's not a damage loss for using it like there would have been back in Classic. And this works on raid bosses. And that's pretty good. A large share of damage on tanks in raid auto attacks. So throwing up Curse of Weakness doesn't literally say reduce incoming tank damage by 20%, but on a lot of fights it's going to be something like 10% damage on the tanks. That's very good.
Which would be
Um,
huge, yeah.
stacks with Rogue's numbing poison, which is another 20% reduction. So if you apply both of those, for example, Sludge Fist's swing timer goes from every 1.5 seconds
Hmm.
to every 2.1 seconds, which is actually so
It's pretty good.
it is a reduction in damage taken by the tanks if you apply both of them of over 20% on Sludge Fist. It's actually like giving your
Jeez.
both tanks Iron Bark for the entire fight.
That's actually pretty crazy. I did not realize that. Man, I'm gonna have to talk to my guild to see what we're doing. Because
Yeah,
this
I
could be,
would
yeah,
not
this
be
could be pretty
surprised
good.
if your warlocks are using it.
Yeah,
Ours weren't because they didn't realize it worked on raid bosses. It will be now.
yeah,
Um, but our rogue wasn't using numbing poison, so again, same kind of thing.
yeah.
Didn't realize it worked on raid bosses. But we're gonna be going back in both of those and just like Sledge Fist hurts. Like it's not like
Mhm.
Minerva hurts tanks, but it's a very dumb magic dot that you can't do anything about.
Right, yeah.
Sludge Fist autos, and so this is especially good. It's good on all raid bosses, but it's especially good on.
All right, I'll have to. I will bring that up. I've learned something today. This is amazing. Um, awesome, awesome. So yeah, so that's really cool. I can't wait to actually test this out because I'm hoping they don't do anything with it. But knowing my luck, it'll probably get fixed
I
on
mean, it.
Tuesday.
They seem to be allergic to making classes share utility, so
Right.
I would imagine they're just gonna leave it as it is.
Yeah,
Um,
that'd be cool. That would be cool. That would help definitely in terms of tank damage for sure.
yeah, we
Um,
know this earlier.
yeah.
Like,
Um,
I know
listen.
in if you were paying attention on Limit stream, they had warlocks using.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I missed that, but apparently they were. So good to know.
Gotcha. That is it's a fun fact, you know? Nice little fun fact. Excuse me. Cool. So yeah, so we'll I mean definitely check that out moving forward. So final thing on the what happened last week is essentially BlizzCon Line, which is
Let's go.
BlizzCon Online.
Yeah,
So it's coming up over the weeks, a couple or 2 weeks now, right? We'll sort of talk in a little bit more detail later, but just real quick up top is they did add the goodie bags, like the virtual ticket. That if you couldn't attend BlizzCon, you'd get a bunch of virtual items. You've purchased the virtual ticket along with being able to watch it. And on the flip side, if you actually purchased a BlizzCon ticket, it was included in like the goodie bag you got when you did your registration and check in. But it's a bunch of digital items for all their games. Every game is included, I think, in this
yeah.
one. In terms of like something you get, even Heroes of the Storm, which I didn't realize they were still supporting at all.
There's a bunch of people in my guild that still play it.
Oh,
Like
okay.
we had people after raid last night. Somebody went hots, and like four people were like, "Sure."
In- Interesting. Okay, sorry, did not mean. Sorry, the HOTS
I
community
don't have it
alive and
installed
strong.
even, so I haven't
Yeah,
joined them. But
yeah. But yeah, so they a bunch of different goodies. The I will say the World of Warcraft items top tier. The You get an ice bear that basically poops out snowball piles you can pick up and throw at each other. It's great. The special animation looks like like an animation out of Frozen, the movie, of course. So awesome mount. The pet is okay, although I guess the pet is a throwback to the BC collector's edition
yeah,
pet, which has some implications. We'll talk about that. We're not going to talk about that here. We'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, it's a bunch of different interesting items. They also on the same day dropped a new mount for any 6 month subs. So if you have a 6 month recurring sub, you get a golden pig.
no,
Uh
it's not.
oh, sorry. Okay, my shit. Okay, golden ox. That its special animation kind of reminds me of Squeakers, where it like jumps up and spins in the air and then comes back down. But when it lands, like gold coins pop out of it, which I find really funny.
It's not the most inspired one compared to the previous year's ones. Like it is very reminiscent of the year of the pig and year of the I don't know
Yeah. Mhm.
mounts, which is squeakers and the pig last year. Um, but It is one of only two aux mounts in the game right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. But yeah, the BlizzCon pack is out. Like I said, there's other stuff for other games than that. There's like Hearthstone cards if you play that. There's skins in Overwatch and skins in Heroes of the Storm for certain heroes. So um if you want that, check it out. There's like 3 different levels of stuff you can buy, ranging from like what is it, like $40 to $60. So it's like 40, 50, and $60, I think.
Yeah.
Um
I don't remember. Is BlizzCon this year free to watch for everyone, or do you still need the virtual
yeah.
ticket?
No, so they'll stream it free on BlizzCon.com, I guess, or whatever
Yeah.
the BlizzCon or Battle, whatever the BlizzCon website is. But yeah, the actual streams are free. They're gonna do, I think it's definitely more of a like panel thing where they're gonna have like basically 5 or 6 different streams, and so you basically can tune in at a certain time for your presentation that you want to
Yeah.
see.
Very similar to how it
Um,
was in person, where you'd have the different stages
right, right,
that
yeah,
you'd go
yep.
to.
Yeah. So it'll be all virtual this time. I don't know if I'm assuming they'll do VODs of some sort, but it's free to watch. So I think it's, yeah, the not this weekend coming up. So it's the weekend of the 20th or 19th and 20th, I think. That week. So but yeah, cool items. I literally purchased it the minute it came out because I'm a sucker. Oh, the most expensive pack, by the way, comes with 30 days of WoW game time. So, and the difference between the top one and the second one is about $20. So, like if you think about your WoW subscription is $15, if you play WoW, you enjoy WoW, it's only an extra $5 for like
Yeah.
to get the more expensive one. Which I don't know what's in it. I think you get extra Hearthstone cards, but you get 30 days of game time. I don't know, dude. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just bought it.
I got the 6 month mount because I have a 6 month sub, because that's what WoW Analyzer covers after the Patreon feed.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so I have that, so I just got the mount, which is nice. I've gotten like 3 or 4 mounts in that, in just like another 6 years, and I'll get my 250 mounts just from the 6 month sub.
Look at you. You're getting up there. You're getting up there. But yeah, I think that's gonna wrap us up for everything that happened last week. Um, Before we jump into, I think we had 2 sort of topics we're gonna talk about today. Um, one of them, so we talked a little bit about, we'll talk about BlizzCon, really just more of our speculation about what we'll see. But first up, I did want to touch on, this is something I think we brought up together, was on basically Max. So Limit Max, the GM, or guild master, raid leader extraordinaire Max, has started a YouTube channel, or really started posting more to his YouTube channel, right? And a lot of it is on like discussions around like raid leading, guild structure, guild communications, like picking your officers. It's a very, very good set of videos and interesting topics, where he sort of gives his opinion, or his sort of viewpoint of like how he runs certain things in Limit, which I find like super interesting. So I think the first 3 videos he did, like the first one was like, "What is raid leading?" which is sort of like a very basic overview of what that role entails, and then he deep dives into like how to have effective communication, which is something you apply outside of even a WoW guild, which is
Yeah,
cool.
he actually does
Um,
make the connection a couple times. So like this also applies in business. And a lot of it does, like efficient management of people and like clear communication, and those are
yeah,
life skills.
Exactly, exactly. So he goes over that. He goes over like how he picks officers, and then what was the last one I just watched? I did went over like a UI things, like what to see in a UI from a raid leading perspective. And there's also a fun video of him like raid leading undercover. So he like
Oh, that video was
basically,
great.
yeah, basically sort of tries to raid lead a heroic sire kill.
No. He he doesn't try and raid lead it.
Oh,
He's undercover. He's not raid leading at all. He's just playing Windwalker, essentially. He's in there trying to get a pug heroic Denathrius kill in without people realizing who he is, which
gotcha.
is slightly undermined by the fact that he's on Maxi Babe, his monk, that has like a not a world first but the world second kill, multiple tiers,
Yeah.
and also is under the complexity limit guild tag. So
Not that much undercover.
not that undercover. I won't spoil it. It is well worth a watch. It's a fun video. It's the kind of
Yeah.
video where you like, you're going and doing your dailies or whatever. You can put that on and watch that on the
Yeah,
side,
like
or
this.
even just listen. just fun.
Yeah. That was a good one, but yeah, I mean, definitely just to highlight the videos that has done. They're very interesting, like just things to watch in terms of like um how he goes about thinking about things. I think a lot of it you can take and like apply to either your guild or like even in certain cases like how just function around people, right? I think it's a good little series. I hope he continues.
Yeah, me
Um
too. As someone that is now, I will say,
oh yes.
interim raid leader for my raid team, that these are very timely. Uh,
Yeah.
so
That's how so I mean, now that we're sort of on the topic, how are you enjoying it? Because to be fair, I had thought you raid led before this.
so
So
the way it was before is I was one of those kind of wear many hats kind of officers doing a bunch of different things, and I did some calls to help out, but
mhm,
very minimal. I mostly did my own thing, um, with varying degrees of success. And we had another player that was leading, that handled a lot of the strategy, setting comps, and actually beating in raid. And they decided to call it quits over the past week. So last night was the first night that I was raid leading.
right.
Thankfully, it's on Sledgefist, which is I won't like it's not an easy boss, but it's not like complicated.
Right, yeah.
So that's a good get your fight kind of thing. And we're still figuring out like we're talking along the team what we want to do about it. Whether we want me to continue doing it. I kind of suspect I'm going to end up continuing to do it until like we finish the tier, and then we'll figure it
Right.
out for real. Um, but if we get to Stone Legion and like I can't do both things at once, then which has been a problem in the past. Me doing multiple things not gone well historically. Um, so we'll see what happens when we hit Stone Legion or one of the a boss that is more complicated than the same mechanics twice or not twice, 5 times over a 5 minute fight.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I oh, sorry.
there's I did actually like his UI video came out a couple days before raid, and I was like, I really should actually redo my UI so I can effectively
Yeah,
because my
that's
my UI is like it's fine and fine. It's been serviceable, and I did a bunch of cleanup to it. Moved my raid frames to where I could see them more easily, and like my big wig stuff around, and move my buffs and debuffs around so I could better,
mhm,
um, and more easily make calls. Timers are actually more.
right. Yeah. Yeah, that was always I raid led for only a tier, like fully by myself, and that was back in not what was the tier before? BlackRock Foundry, BRF. And that was not fun. I think the worst part for me about raid leading isn't like the in-game calls are generally pretty good, right? Like I'm fine doing that once I get into like the mode of like, all right, I gotta call this stuff here. I do it today in my current guild, mostly for healer cooldowns, right?
Yeah,
So for like council, it was like I was calling what groups were ready for cooldowns, each sort of the dancing fevers, right? Um, but the um the problem I always had, at least when we were going through BRF, was like getting to a boss, having a strategy in mind, and then it not going well, and like having to
make an
make that
adjustment.
call of like, yeah, is it we need to make an adjustment to the strategy, or do we need to execute the strategy better?
That's
Uh,
actually so. That's been something that I've been contributing to a long time. That's so when
Gotcha.
I was promoted to officer, in my guild, uh, it was specifically to do log review stuff. So
Hmm.
on break during raid night and in between raid nights, looking at logs, figuring out what's going wrong, and whether it's just a like play better, don't stand in the bad kind of problem, or a this is actually like a strategy level problem. Change how we're approaching this, it'll make it a lot.
Right.
So I've been doing that for a while. So I feel like I have a better grasp on that, but at the same time, like we actually have a very good environment, I would say, on my team. Very collaborative of people being like, "Hey, can we try this? Can we do this?" Like one of our melee last night was on Sledgefist on the second pillar. It was like after we finish the burn, they have to spread, and he's like,
Right.
"We should try all having the melee stack in this corner, just like for a second, because we always get falling debris on us, and if it lands on the boss, it's really annoying for positioning. And so they tried it, and so far it's been a 100% success rate that they've always baited that
Yeah,
falling
it
debris over in
does.
that corner, and it's just made melee positioning on that pillar so much better.
You can do it
So
after the third pillar too, by the way.
yeah, I think he's doing
Yeah,
it for that as well, but I don't remember.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, it's uh it's been going well so far, but I'm very wary of how quickly things could
yeah.
go sideways once we hit Stone Legion.
Yeah, yeah, that's I mean, that was I don't yeah, I never minded like the in game leading like of calls and watching timers and stuff like that just cuz I generally have to do it as a healer anyway for certain things. So
Yeah,
like I'm already there. It was always that sort of like making a call, making a determination of like in the moment doesn't make sense to change this.
yeah,
Um and that was the the hardest thing. Like there's still a raid night on Maidens in BRF where I can remember us like literally fighting with someone about changing something. I'm like, look, this is an execution issue. You guys just need to play better. Like I don't like we're not wiping. Like I'm looking at the logs. I'm like, we're not dying because the strat is bad. I'm like, you're literally dying because you're not dodging something or you're not like DPSing the turrets enough. I forget what it was. Because on that fight on the mythic mechanic, there was like a one of the bosses planted a turret that would shoot around and you had to like kill it to like limit damage.
yeah,
I was like, you're just not killing it fast enough, or you're just not dodging enough. And like I don't know. And that was always like to me raid leading. Like that part of it, I did not enjoy as much as like putting together the strategy, like sitting down and being like, all right, we're gonna do this.
yeah.
It was like the adjustment side I was always bad at. So
And that's one thing, actually. So one thing he hasn't covered yet, but well, this is something I don't know if he will cover because they kill things first.
right,
So one of the things I do, or I try to do before every boss, is go through and figure out what other guilds wipe, what's
yeah,
killing them, so that I know like what's killing them, and then ideally if I can also figure out, what did they change. And sometimes it's just execution things. Like sometimes bosses have these hard execution things that just um and sometimes it's you can look at one night's logs and they'll be dying over and over again to, I don't know, say dark recital.
yeah,
And then you look at the next night's logs and their dark recital deaths are down by like 70% changed.
right,
So doing that kind of thing before you go and raid can help you figure out, is this a strat change we need to make, or is this just an execution?
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's yeah, that is the one area that I think I'm not good at. But luckily I don't raid lead anymore. So
Yeah,
I just do call outs. I watch timers. So but yeah, I'm excited for more of these videos. I think this will be really interesting. It's a really interesting space that I think Max is like uniquely positioned to be able to
yeah,
like put together an opinion on. Because number one, I think he has very good takes, and a lot of his opinions, or at least the way he approaches things, seems very level-headed and sort of in the right mind space, right? And number two, he's also the best at what he does. So,
yeah. Number
you know what
three,
I mean?
he's also actually like pretty, like, I don't know if entertaining is the right word, but he's fun to listen to. He has
Yeah,
these moments where he like says, like, starts an analogy, realizes it's extremely dumb, and then
yeah,
finishes it anyway.
yeah, yeah,
And I don't know, it's just kind of fun to listen to. Um,
yeah. Yeah,
he's
definitely.
definitely, of all the people that I've seen start YouTube channels, he's got the strongest start.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for
But
sure.
I don't think there's been any of the videos that he's put out this past week that I've looked at and been, eh, they've all been good.
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing I haven't watched, I know he's put out a couple of strat videos. So he has like a Hunger and Destroyer strat video, and um I think he's got another boss or two up there too. I have not watched those just because we've already killed them. So like
Yeah,
I don't know if we'll do it, but yeah, I mean the idea would be, or sorry, it'd be interesting to see how that's something that they continue to do and maybe put out sooner rather than later, right? In terms of like getting their progression notes and why they did certain things out there. So um but yeah, I mean that's the Max stuff. I think it's just more to come on his YouTube stuff. I think it's just really I'm actually excited. Like I don't watch well, a lot of my YouTube watching is like Factorio and now Dyson Sphere program builds and like people doing like things like that. So this might be, the third thing that sort of slides in there. So,
Yeah,
oh, also a lot of grass cutting videos. Apparently, the YouTube algorithm thinks I want to watch people cut grass, um,
very weird.
which it's oddly, I oddly do that. I
So it
oddly
doesn't just think you want to, you do want to.
Yeah, now I'm into so a little aside here as we talk about my YouTube algorithm. Not only is it grass cutting videos, but it's people cutting down trees, but like big trees where they need like a crane. So it's like a dude they lift into the tree and he wraps a rope around the
So
top of
it's
the tree.
actually just like Factorio IRL videos.
Kind of, yes, it is. It's like people systematically like destroying something or like cleaning up. Oh, dude, there's this one house that this guy cut grass on where like he edged this thing and like the before was like all this grass overgrowing, but then he edged it. It was like perfectly straight lines. I loved it. But yeah, that's so in any
So
event, sorry.
the YouTube algorithm has got you figured out.
Yeah, kind of. And then there's like the odd, um, oh, what is it? It's like odd, like social media influencer videos of them freaking out about something. And I don't know that I don't watch. It just sort of pops in there. But yeah,
Yeah, those ones pop in everybody's feed. I'm pretty sure it's just because they get a
yeah.
lot of views.
But yeah, the grass cutting, tree cutting. I learned actually so fun. God, this is gonna sound so weird. I don't know why I'm telling you this. I watched a video of the different notches you can make when you cut out a tree. So,
Okay.
like, I learned about, like, why they make the wedge, right? And when they do the back cut, you're not supposed to cut all the way through the tree because what you want is that the fibers in the middle of the oh god, I just hit my mic. The fibers in the middle of the tree to basically slowly let the tree fall over, and those fibers sort of slow the impact so the tree doesn't slam and crack. You want it to sort of just, like, slide and lay, and that way it's easier to cut up when it's on the ground.
Today
Yeah,
I
you
learned. I will
so
be
so if you're
slightly better prepared for when I quit my job, move to the Yukon, and become a lumberjack.
Yeah, next time you want to cut down a tree, just let me know. I can teach you all about the different notches that they have there. Back cuts or, you know, God,
Yeah.
this is crazy. So in any event, sorry, off the tree cutting, off the YouTube algorithm. But yeah, that's Max's stuff. I think, go check it out for sure. I think it'll be good the rest of the time. So yeah, so next up was, and
BlizzCon
sorry, did you have
speculation.
BlizzCon speculation? Yeah, so I was just making sure we could move on.
Yeah. I
So
mean, unless you
BlizzCon
want to
spec.
hear about my weird YouTube recommendations, but I think we've all had those weird ones. So
Yeah, yeah. So BlizzCon coming up in 2 weeks. So generally speaking, this will be the big announcements for a lot of different stuff for the year. We do know a couple of things go into this, so I'll kind of take this off the table. Activision had their earnings call. I think it was earlier this week. Announced basically two really big things: Diablo 4, Overwatch 2, both not coming out in 2021. Looks like Diablo 4 is going to be a 2022 release. So we expect maybe some you know, maybe gameplay, maybe just more trailers for those, but no releases, no demos, no announcement of a release
we
in the
we
next
could see,
calendar year.
so for Diablo 4, they had a demo. I guess it was technically not last year, but last BlizzCon. They
Mm-hmm.
had a playable demo of one class. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like a playable demo of D4 that's got the same class with updates in, and maybe one other class that's like somewhat playable.
Gotcha.
Actually, you know what? I don't think they'll do that because they had those on the stage floor
The
at
floor,
the
yeah, I
previous
don't think they'll
BlizzCon.
be.
I don't think we'll get any playable demos of upcoming games.
We might. I mean, I would say that we might get more gameplay in D4,
Yeah,
but I think D4 will end up being like a sizzler reel, as they call them.
yeah,
Just basically like here's some of the new stuff we're doing, maybe some of the new tech, some of the new like UI or graphic elements. But I think D4 will just eventually just generally be a here is an update of what we're doing, right? Maybe we take this like property by property, so we talk about all the Diablo stuff, so that way we're not like jumping back and forth.
yeah.
Kind of do this on the fly. But yeah, so that's what I think we're getting for
Diablo's
Diablo
actually got
4.
a lot of
Yeah,
potential
that's why I
stuff.
was thinking about like where else
Yeah,
we got to talk about this and this and this. So yeah, that's what I think for Diablo 4. We end up with just literally just an update on how they're doing.
yeah,
I don't think we get a demo. We don't get nothing in our hands other than maybe some cool video of like here's some
yeah.
new, in-engine stuff. The other Diablo stuff. So we have Diablo Immortal, the phone game. The You have a phone, don't you, guy? Which I feel so bad for that
I feel
dude,
bad for
by the
him.
way.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I would love to see him get back on the stage and be like, "Oh, by the way, it's out now." Because like,
Yeah.
what are people
So
gonna do
so
while they're
you have your
watching
phone.
BlizzCon?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
doing dailies, but let's be real.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, so I think we get an Immortal. So Immortal did have a technical alpha late last year, right? So I'm assuming we get a release date for Diablo Immortal, and I mean, people who played that techno alpha said it was good. Like said it was actually fun. So I'm actually kind of excited about this. I don't play many games on my phone because I don't go anywhere. So like my actual
Yeah,
computers.
I don't either. Like, I went out for the first time in 2 weeks today
Hmm.
to grocery shopping to the laundromat, and going to proceed to stay inside for the next couple.
For the next 2 weeks. Yeah. But I'm kind of excited. So I think we end up the crazy prediction would be that we get the game during BlizzCon, but I think
Yeah,
we end up just getting a release date for it, for Diablo Immortal.
yeah.
And sort of what the final game looks like. Probably a ton more information on it.
I
I think
after I would actually not be super surprised to see a release during BlizzCon, just because
yeah,
that seems like one of the like that's the redemption arc, right? They went from
yeah,
the massively negative like feedback from the Diablo Immortal announcement at BlizzCon 2 years ago,
right,
years ago, uh, to now, 3 years later. Oh, by the way, it's out now. Like that's the end of their presentation. The release date they put up on the screen, and it's actually just today.
right. Yeah, I'd be so down for that too. I think that'd be pretty cool. And I think, like I said, I'm excited about this game. Just based on like some of the feedback I heard during the technical alpha from people that
Yeah,
had a chance to play it. So
it's the kind of game that I would actually play on my phone. You know,
yeah,
and I
I
trust
love
Blizzard to
loot.
not load it with ads and like with microtransactions. Like, WoW has microtransaction stuff. Overwatch does. Like Overwatch is like the original loot box game almost.
Yeah,
So they've definitely got the microtransactions, and I expect them, but they're not like they've been very good about not having them be power. Like
right. Yeah, or like or
that's
like gating. Right. Yeah,
yeah, that's the thing.
yeah,
Because I stopped playing mobile games. I hate getting nickel and dimed.
yeah. It's funny. I actually, just quick aside on mobile games. I have the Apple Arcade thing, which is like their subscription service. Just because I have the Apple Plus family plan thing for all the other stuff that like my kids love Apple TV. Anyway, and aside, the arcade thing's really cool because those are actually games that like don't generally contain that type of stuff and they're
Yeah,
high quality. So they're higher quality. And it seems like they're free even though I spend I don't know what it is, like 20 bucks a month for like every service. But yeah.
yeah. I
Uh
mean, I would love if we get Diablo Immortal and there's just like no microtransactions in it.
yeah, yeah. That'd be cool. It'd be interesting. But that's the Immortal. So sounds like we're both sort of saying like probably the release date for sure, potentially a release day of, which would be interesting. And the other thing I had on my list was Diablo 2 remake.
Yeah, this is
Which
speculation, but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So it's I don't know if it's speculation, but I know that I read an article, not an article, but I read I think the Forbes article that came out around the Vicarious Vision. So quick step back, Vicarious Visions, which was a studio under Activision, has been folded into Blizzard, essentially taking over the old Blizzard Classic or Blizzard Team One position. So there's no more a Blizzard Team One. It is now just Vicarious Visions. That team was handling essentially all their classic games. So like Warcraft 3 Reforged and that dumpster fire, HOTS or Here's the Storm, I think slides under that, and a couple other things, right? And what they're saying is, potentially Diablo 2 remake also in the works, by Vicarious Visions, which I'm hopeful. I mean, Vicarious Visions has a very good track record in terms of like what they have worked on, the games that they have produced, right? So it's good to see at least a good developer picking this up, but
yeah,
we'll see if it was a developer issue or it was just a publisher slash Blizzard issue with like we care more about getting something out the door than something that's good, right?
yeah.
But yeah, I don't actually think we hear anything about Diablo 2 remake. I think it's way too soon. If anything, like they might pull the whole like Skyrim thing where they just flash up a logo at the end and say Diablo 2 remake and like that's it, right? Didn't what's Bethesda? Is Bethesda the Skyrim people?
Yeah.
Didn't they do that like two or three Bethesda cons ago where they just like flashed up the whatever the Skyrim. What is that series even called?
Elder Scrolls.
They flashed up like the Elder Scrolls 6 logo and was like, "We're
Yeah.
making one." of course you're fucking making an Elder Scrolls 6. Skyrim has made you $1 billion. Like,
It is going to make them several billion more by the time they stop re-releasing it.
yeah, exactly. But in any event, I think that's about the extent we get for a Diablo 2 remake is like maybe a logo that says we're working on it, but like nothing else. I'd be very surprised if we see any sort of actual
I could
yeah,
see us. Maybe this is me being optimistic. I could see us getting a little bit more. Like, if you think about, there's two ways you could look at the relationship between the D2 remake, essentially,
mhm,
and the acquisition or merging of Vicarious Vision. One of them is they are merging Vicarious Visions in, and they are now starting work on D2 in earnest.
right.
The other way is that work on D2 has already been underway. It was like another project that was kind of they were contracted on, and someone just went, they're working on a Blizzard core property. Why don't we just, why aren't they in Blizzard?
Right, yeah.
And they're like, I don't know, why not? So
Get us in there.
that there are, I could see us getting a little bit more on D2.
Mhm.
Given the, yeah, I don't know. I am curious to see what we get from Diablo. While I got Diablo 3 for free back in the day with the year sub for
I did that
WoW,
too,
like
yeah.
every other WoW player almost. And
Yeah, I had a blast with original D3. Like me, like my friends and I love loot games like this for the simple fact that it's like something we can basically be degenerates at for like a week or two,
yeah,
and like then put it down and pick it back up in 2 months and like not have lost anything, right? Like it's
yeah.
yeah, these sort of loot games are great like that. And yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful. Like Diablo has been a franchise. Like I played literally every Diablo, at least in some capacity. I mean, I lived in Diablo 2. I cheated in Diablo 2. You know what I mean? So like I really like the series. I mean, I've played basically. I still play PoE, right? I still play D3 seasons. Like every other season, I jump back in. So yeah, I'm excited for D4. Excited for Immortal and a D2 remaster. It would be interesting. I don't know if I'd play it. I don't know if I want more D2, but D3 was a very
Do you
cool.
pay attention at all to the Diablo subreddit?
Not particularly, no.
So there's two very distinct crowds. If you've spent any time browsing it, it'll become very quickly obvious. There's a
Mhm.
set of people that want Diablo 4 to basically be Diablo 2 but prettier,
Okay.
and there's a set of people that actually want it to be a new game. And the people that are just wanting Diablo 2 but prettier are going to be, I hope, very happy. Although I suspect after what happened with Warcraft 3 Reforged, people are going to be tempering their expectations.
Yeah.
That Mr. Fire.
It's real bad. I don't think they've ever fixed it, right? Like it's still
No,
bad.
it's still bad.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
There's
what I
still no
figured. So
ladders or anything. Like,
it's just yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I think that's I mean that's at least the Diablo franchise, right? So we're thinking definitely some more gameplay cinematics potentially from D4, right? Definitely more details just in general. Diablo Immortal release, maybe definitely a date, but maybe release during BlizzCon. And then D2 remastered, maybe an announcement. I think that would the announcement potentially is just very light in terms of details, right? Just like, hey, we're
yeah,
working on this
yeah.
type of thing. So cool. So let's do maybe Hearthstone now. I don't know anything about Hearthstone. I have zero.
I'm a little bit like, I'm a little bit into the like hard game end of things. Like I pay attention to Eternal, and I pay attention to, well, a little bit to Eternal and a lot more to Magic.
Mhm.
And by proxy, I hear about Hearthstone some.
Yeah.
I got
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean,
no
I
clue.
I think at least reading I read the Wowhead, sort of post they put up, right? Um, so I think, like, BlizzCon, generally, they have always released their theme for Hearthstone for the year with
Yeah,
BlizzCon, right? Um, and they did announce the Year of the Phoenix, um, and, like, a new class. So the idea is that we're more than likely expecting probably a new expansion or at least new content update, which To me, it's
So,
fun.
if I
Sorry.
remember year before last, basically what they did is they announced the next expansion. They
Hmm.
gave like the title for the expansion after that, but no more details about it. Which is like it's comparable if you look at other games. Like Magic had a thing last end of last year. Basically,
Yeah.
they went, here's what the next set is, and they started spoiling cards and be like, here's the teams and all this, and then they were like, for the other three sets of the year, here's the name and the logo. Have fun speculating the next
Yeah.
6 months.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what we probably expect with Hearthstone. They generally haven't done any sort of big items. I think the only thing that interests me is like maybe some battlegrounds updates. Hearthstone battlegrounds has been like,
That that existed.
yeah, it's weird that I came to it late. So it's been really big with my friends for probably the past like month or two. A
Yeah,
lot of us gotten back into it. So maybe some updates to that. It's I don't know. It's the kind of card game I enjoy because I hate building decks and I hate having to spend a bunch of money to get those decks. So it's like the perfect amount of like I can jump in, jump out. So
yeah.
um but yeah, maybe in I don't know. I don't play a ton of Hearthstone, so I don't know if I care too much. The one more game and then we'll sort of get to the WoW stuff. So Overwatch, I think we already said Overwatch 2 is coming, however, not in 2022
And not in 2021.
or not in
Meaning
2021, I'm sorry. Yeah.
2022, according to the earnings call.
Yeah, at the earliest. So again, I think in the past they've used BlizzCon to like basically show like just new trailers or new like story information, right? So and
Yeah,
that generally came with like a new map, maybe a new hero, but generally just a new map.
yeah.
So probably similar this year. We may actually get though. I feel like with them at least bringing up Overwatch 2 on the earnings call. I mean, hopefully we get maybe some at least some more details on what Overwatch 2 is, right? It's a it's a very weird
It's a very weird
um
situation. Like, kind of like Heroes of the Storm. Bunch of people in guild, including me, still play Overwatch. Like, I don't
yeah.
play the ton. I basically just play with it when friends are on. But like, they're still playing it. I
Right,
don't
and
know.
how do you do
Like
it too? How do you do
the
it too? Because you've put a bunch of money into Overwatch, right? Like
yeah.
you've
It,
you've either bought skins or you put time into that. What happens to all that?
it's yeah. I mean, a bunch of people were joking that the joke when they announced it was they released a hero that was so broken that they had to make an entire new game to get rid of them. Um, which I don't play enough Overwatch or didn't at the time to know what it was they were talking
Right.
about. I got no idea, but that was the joke. That was the joke. I don't think anybody else really knows either because there was a lot of discussion like what happens to all of the skins, what happens to all of that. At
Yep.
least it's not like League of Legends or something where you have to buy all the heroes individually. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Overwatch 2 is in the construct of Overwatch as a game, right?
Yeah,
Just because of that fact where like you're taking a class-based shooter which built its economy on like cosmetics and now you're going to make a sequel that may not have all the cosmetics, right?
yeah. And a bunch of people will point out repeatedly that all the cosmetics are going to be built like when they are designed and the art is done. They're going to be done at higher resolution, higher poly count than what you actually get in Overwatch because that's just like someone working at a $3,000 computer with a like that's just doing 3D rendering on one model can get a much higher poly count at a decent frame rate than you can in the middle of a match.
Right.
Um, but I, that doesn't necessarily translate because a bunch of things like skeletons and lighting and all of that technology is going to be changing from one to the next, like almost
Right.
guaranteed.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, I guess we'll see what Overwatch 2 is. It's just if it's literally the same game with updated graphics or like
yeah,
maybe a new hero or two, like
yeah,
that might hurt a bunch of people that enjoy Overwatch, right? That sort of play that game. I've yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what Overwatch 2 is. More than likely. Cool. So now WoW news. So I think we talked this in two sections, maybe like WoW
okay.
retail and WoW
Oh, classic.
classic. Yeah. because I think that we have some fun at least things that have come out, and then yeah. So let's take on this retail first. I think so. A couple things have happened in the past couple days that are interesting. Number one, there is a point 0.5 uh, release that was pushed to the CDNs, an encrypted release. Sorry, that was pushed to the CDNs earlier this week. So that's like 9.0.5 or yeah, point 0.5, right? Generally in the past, Blizzard has used these point 0.5 releases as really like the content, or it's been sort of a mix of like mid major patch content drops, right?
Wasn't the Mage
Um,
Tower 0.5?
Mage Tower was a point 0.5. They also enabled one of the raids in Legion in point 0.5 in a
What
point
that was
0.5
the Helya
release.
raid, right?
I believe so, yeah. So yeah, so it's been like a mix of just generally smaller content pieces that don't, generally include like a full scale like raid tier release, right?
Right.
Um, so yeah, so that was pushed out, and it's interesting that it's coming with the first patch, and not a 9.1, which is what we potentially would expect. So maybe we get a minor content patch of something. I don't know. Maybe it's tier sets.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember. We didn't really get 0.5 patches that were substantial in any way in BFA.
No, not that I can
Like
remember.
I
I might
think
be
we got a
missing
couple
something.
of 0.5 patches, but it was just like balance and
Yeah.
tuning, Azerite traits getting touched. Pretty sure
Yeah.
we had like a 5 patch, but that's it. Maybe.
Yeah, and it's generally
Oh, you know what? We did
the
have one. 8.15, which had Crucible.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah, they did have this small. Yeah.
But yeah, other than that,
Um.
they were just like small balance update patches.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll see what this actually becomes. The point 0.5 release. I think we definitely hear a little bit about that at BlizzCon. I think we hopefully hear more about what 9.1. It's we're in the 9 point. We're in 9.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of what I expect, and this is again speculation. What I expect is that we will get two things about retail. We will get basically an announcement: ETR is up for 0.05. And I know I said that for like other games, but this is one I'm fairly certain we will get because they pushed this build as an
Right.
encrypted build, so it couldn't be data mined. They're gonna talk about it. They're gonna do an announcement, and then by the end of BlizzCon, the PTR for 9.05 will be up. That's
Right.
like I am like 99% sure that's gonna happen. Okay. Then the rest of the WoW retail time is gonna be talking about 9.1. The 9.05 will have some small things. I highly doubt we'll get a raid just because of the fact that it hasn't been out and tested and all that. We
Right.
might get, I would expect, probably most likely thing is new Torghast stuff, maybe some new story stuff for the different covenants.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah.
yeah,
It'll be. I'm interested to see what 9.1 looks like. I
yeah,
mean, knowing what how they've done new raids in the past, right? Um, it's generally been like coupled with like a new content area. So, and like looking at what we have, right, in terms of like where the next content area is, no, and knowing what I know about the story, like I feel like the next move is like into the mall almost.
yeah. I feel like that's been set up, but I don't know that they're gonna go straight there, or if we're gonna do something maybe. If we don't go straight there, my guess would be Mel. That's
Yeah,
that's still got enough bad guys floating around.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what the next actual raid tier ends up being. Um and then I mean they've added a new landmass essentially in the past two expansions, right?
Yeah.
So the question becomes like, is the mall like the final place we go, or like is there something beyond?
Or okay, hear me out.
Okay, let's see this.
New covenant, new zone, new raid goes with it.
That's the if they
The
do if they
infinite
do it.
realms of the Shadowlands. They said that
Oh
repeatedly, and I don't
god, that's
know
true.
if they were just being like, "Oh, this is so cool," or if they are dropping hints.
if
And that's,
if they if they do that, like literally everyone is going to be that new covenant.
I mean, if they do that, um, everybody that does theory for any class is going to cry, and not tears of joy.
No. Yeah. Oh god. That would be pretty crazy if they did New Covenant. Um, New landmass, I don't know if it makes sense in 9.1. I think they may set up the new landmass in
Yeah.
9.1. But yeah, I
For
mean,
so in BFA as an example, which BFA isn't the best example. Actually, BFA and Legion were both the same in that the X.1 patch did not have a new landmass. So
right.
8.1 was Battle for Dazar'alor, did not have a new landmass attached. Um, 7.1 was Nighthold, also no new landmass. Um, but they did have the resolution of the Suramar campaign,
Right.
and that's kind of the 8.1 kind of had a resolution of war campaign, which technically continued through the rest of it, but like the 8.2 war campaign just was Najatar stuff,
Yeah.
and the 8.3 war campaign was just N'Zoth stuff. So um, I, w- I wouldn't be surprised to see 9.1 being here's more Covenant quests that resolve some more loose threads.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, to close it out. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, hopefully maybe we get a new trailer that has more of like Anduin and sort of what Sylvanas is up to and that type of piece. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe we'll see the starts of the redemption arc for Sylvanas that we know is coming because Blizzard literally
I can't
fucking
throw away
can't kill off
characters.
major characters, dude.
Yeah.
Just kill her.
Um,
Just get rid of her. Not in the rude sense of like, hey, she needs to die. Just like she burned on a fucking tree with a bunch of people in it. Like,
yeah,
there's no
they've
redemption.
thoroughly like they've really done a number on her character. So,
Yeah.
um, before we move on to the classic talk,
Okay.
predictions. I want predictions. Most likely raid boss next
Oh, about who's out there?
year. Yeah, like her character we currently have going to be a raid boss next year. We get half credit if we kill them by the end of the
Okay. So we'll have to timestamp this, remember, but I think Kel'Thuzad ends up making a comeback. That would be the one. I think that's the okay. So sorry, that's the easy choice. I think
year.
that's the choice that makes sense because like major old boss makes sense to bring him back.
Yeah,
I think Arthas is another. Actually, so here's a prediction I'll make about a. So I think Kel'Thuzad will be a raid boss. I think Arthas will not be a raid boss. I do not think we fight Arthas.
but he'll show
In
up.
He'll show up, but do not think he is a boss that we fight.
Okay,
But in terms of like lore characters we've run into that maybe is out there, is I feel like see this is where my lore is really bad. Is like, can we fight demons in the Shadowlands? Like, I know demons don't die
I don't know, dude.
unless you kill them in the what is the demon land
The
area,
twisting nether.
the twisting nether, right? But when they die in the twisting nether, do demons have souls? Because here's my boss out thing. Like, I think we fight one of the known demons. So one of like Sargeras's
Okay,
like lieutenants.
okay.
Like whether it's I don't know. I don't think it'll be Sargeras. I don't think it'll be like Archimond or shoot. Archimond, what was the other dude there? I'm so bad with this. But it might be one of the Dreadlords below them. So
Yeah,
like um
like a Tichondrius or
Yeah, like a Tyke or a
yeah.
not Maldraxxus. What's the Mal'Ganis, something like that. Like I think we fight a Dreadlord sort of lieutenant potentially in the next year.
That does fit in kind of as a continuation of some of the storyline from Revendreth as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, with some like the Burning Legion stuff there. So that's if demons can be in the Shadowlands. I don't know lore wise if it works, but
I mean, we
I think we
know that Denathrius was communicating with the Dreadlords, so it would make
right.
sense that they probably, if they don't go there when they die, maybe they can just go there. I don't know.
Because of some sort of linkage. But yeah, I think we get a demon lieutenant of like the Maldraxxus Tichondrius level.
Okay, okay. So my prediction:
Yep.
Durande.
You think we fight her?
Yep. And I can see it going one of two ways. I
Okay.
think the raid boss setup is basically going to be Tyranda's insane,
Yep. Okay. Fair.
and it's either going to be she's insane and also fighting another boss, and it's kind of like a they are fighting and we're involved kind of thing,
Mhm.
or it's gonna just be like we beat the crap out of Tyrande and then oops, she's not insane anymore. I don't think they'll have us actually kill her,
Gotcha.
but I do think they will have us beat some sense into it.
Okay.
As like awful as I say it out loud, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, 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 no. That interesting. I didn't even think to go there. But
I
yeah,
just
that's an
think based
interesting
on
one. Yeah.
the Night Phase story and how they left that unresolved, they're setting us up for failure. That they are
Gotcha.
setting
Gotcha.
basically that the Night Fae Covenant campaign is going to reach the point where at the end of the campaign in 9.05 or 9.1, Randa is lost to us and basically down, or it's going to be the last step of the campaign, kind of like not literally the last step in
Mhm.
gameplay mechanics, but the last step of the campaign is going to be okay. We weren't able to reach Tyrande in time or get her under control in time, and she is in this maw raid or whatever, wrecking shit, and we need to go not save her, stop her.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
Yeah.
stop. Yeah, like get her under control. Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's a little bit of a cop out because I'm kind of being like, well, basically she's going to be in a raid fight. I would say.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. I could see that happening. And I I just hope they don't make Arthas a boss we fight. I think because like if he and again, if he's not the final boss we fight in the raid, I think it does that character a disservice.
Yeah.
It's the same thing where I hated what was the first boss of Warlords of Draenor in that first raid?
Oh,
Was it
yeah, the head guy of the Shattered Hand.
yeah, the blade he had the blade hands.
Yeah,
Shoot. Oh god, I'm not in game. I can't hold on. In any event, as I look this up, I thought they did him that character a terrible disservice by making him
the
the
first boss.
first boss of the first raid
Yeah,
of a new expansion.
which
Because like it's
like
just oh
they set that up with the intro to the mission, so it was very clearly telling. But also, I do
they just I felt like
we
you
killed random
have
plants later in the tier. Like have a random plant be the first. He can be
exactly.
like an end wing boss or something.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I was oh god, oh god, yeah. Oh,
Argath.
Kargath Bladefist. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's just that like I don't think if they do Arthas like that, I'm gonna be upset in terms of like just where he's placed. Like if he's the final boss of raid tier, awesome, fight him, great, it'll be cool, it'll be fun. But if he is anything else, like just leave him out, leave him as the thrall of like do some RP somewhere and then like freeze or help us in a fight. Like I'm fine with that. Just don't make us fight him.
yeah.
So um interesting. That's a good question. In terms of like, yeah, Tyrande. Interesting. That'd be fun, I feel like. I'm getting Sisters of the Moon throwbacks. Uh, just some fun
Man,
boss.
oh man, I love the video from that. The people
Yeah,
dancing across the line set to
yeah,
this dance track. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. So I think any other retail predictions? Do you think like we'll get any new fun side area things? Like they haven't done a Brawlers Guild update, have they yet?
I would expect Brawlers Guild in 9.0.
Yeah. So cool. So now on to WoW Classic, which this one's a little spicier, I think. So um I think at this point all the classic content's out, right? They
Yeah,
did their
Max is out.
Nax 40 yeah, a couple months ago. Right around actually the actual retail release too. So um
Yep.
but there's a lot of speculation that we're gonna see Burning Crusade classic servers. Which
That pet
honestly
you mentioned earlier.
yeah, so the pet's one of them. There's been a bunch of surveys that Blizzard sent out too, asking about like what is the feedback, right? Um, what is like the feedback of like having one of these? Apparently, and this is just sort of some speculation, but there have been some bug fixes, or at least announced bug fixes that were not a part of original Classic, but a part of Burning Crusade, that are coming in. So a lot of speculation that we're going to see BC Classic servers, which to me is a interesting conundrum for how you maintain this cleanly, right?
Right.
So like the idea is I think there's like there are groups of people that sort of fit in what you want to play and what you want, right? Like classic was very much a I want to go back to the beginning type of idea, right? And I think everyone will end up having like their favorite expansion. Like for me, if I was to go back and play an expansion over and over again for the rest of the time, it would be Mists, right? But I'm very much like I want to play the Mists that I knew, and I want everybody else to play Mists, so I don't have to play by myself,
Yeah.
right? And like when sorry,
Oh, go ahead.
so and like as they introduce these like Burning Crusade classic servers and regular classic servers, there's this idea that you're now splitting your player base,
Yeah.
right, between people who want to continue and people who want to stay. And then there's the idea of like, how do you maintain that, right? Like if I have a classic character today, do I get to take it to Burning Crusade, or am I starting fresh over there? Um, or is it? And then it's the idea of like, all right, well, I'm now playing classic. I'm max level. I've cleared Nax in the actual like illegal server world, they'll just reset the server. So like, are there server resets coming in Classic? And like, that sort of brings my head down. But I think the biggest thing is like, what do you do with the player base? Do you leave classics, vanilla classic servers up, and then also maintain BC classic servers like parallel and allow people to come across as they want? Or do you just do a clean split and say, hey, you can play on these classic servers, or you can play on these Burning Crusade servers, nothing transfers over, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I expect them to say you can take your classic character and you can copy it to, and
okay.
like maybe they do a limited number of copies, or just do like you can copy each character once and then you can't copy it again. Then
Yeah.
you got to pay for it. But uh,
That's gonna fuck the economy so bad.
I very very much doubt that they will say, "Oh, everybody's gonna start from one." But I think they've got the player numbers to support both. Um,
Okay.
my concern is not player numbers in aggregate; it's player numbers per server.
Yeah.
Because Classic is popular, there are still Classic servers that are a lot smaller than others.
Mhm.
And um, what I would like to see is that they, as that happens, like if they put both up and they leave both up at the same time, they become a lot more proactive about merging. Stop it from becoming graveyard servers like retail has. Um,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I know people joke about like there's one group of retail servers where there's like 7 different realms, same cluster, but like I'll take it.
Is that the laughing skull realm?
I don't
I
know.
wonder.
But you know, they could also do and they won't do this because classic. But
Mhm.
I would love it if retail did just like adopted that numeric discriminator number that Discord and like every other service uses, so you get to keep your name and
Yeah.
there's just a number on the end.
And
Like
that's it.
VNet
That's it.
uses this too. Like and just merge servers.
Yeah. I I, I think I think the problem with merging, and this is sort of where like my head goes with some of this in terms of like how you balance more on like the experience side of things, right? Because
Yeah.
there's like actually balancing the game, but like making sure the experience is at least doesn't screw some people over, and sort of that one large server, right? Sort of you lose what made classic so much
Right. So
fun.
I'm not saying merge all of the servers.
Okay, just merge like the smaller
Just
ones,
like
yeah,
take the small ones and say, okay, these two really suffered when PC came out. We're gonna combine these two servers, and like, I'm
yeah,
sorry, but your options are either having nothing on the auction house or having guilds that you didn't have to compete with before on the same servers.
yeah. So that yeah, I guess that I mean that is definitely something that I think they have to take a look at. Yeah, I would still just be concerned about moving your character over, right?
I don't even. I could see them asking you to move it. I honestly think they'll just ask you to copy it because
Yeah, but then you get so and here's where my brain goes immediately, which is like if I have a bunch of WoW gold in Classic and I can copy my character once, so I'm going to copy my first character with all the gold on it.
yeah.
Then I'm going to take that gold, I'm going to send it to my second character, I'm going to copy that character over it,
Oh
and I'm
wow.
literally going to ruin the economy because I'm going to come over with, whatever I know, like some people have like 30, 40,000 gold. I'm going to come
Yeah.
over with like hundreds of thousands of gold onto whatever server I'm going with my friends, and I'm
I mean,
literally going to
I
own
think
everything from the
Classic has
start.
shown us that the economy in BC Classic will be dramatically different from the economy in the original BC. But yeah,
That's true too. Yeah.
you're totally right. People do that on PTR copies when they need to like buy
Well, yeah,
stuff for testing.
that's where I got the yeah, that's where I
Yeah,
got the idea from. Because 'cause I've definitely done that thing where, like, I've sent all my gold to one character, copied it to the PTR, like, 5 or 6 times, and ended up with, like, tens of millions of gold so I could just mess around with whatever I needed, right?
yeah,
Um, so that would be the one issue, like, the logistics of, like, doing the character copy, and then the idea that, like, that's not, like, a clean transition. So what I actually would like to see is that you literally like, this might be an interesting way to do this, but it's almost like you take a snapshot of the server
and
and
you
then you
copy the
basically
server.
say this is now your BC server. So if you want to play all your characters, you are now on Fire Tree BC,
Yeah,
right? But
I could see
I
that. That's actually an elegant solution.
Right, because that way you don't run into the issue of like the economy, right? You don't run into the issue of like people like wanting to only play classic or wanting to eventually move, right? The problem is you lose then like the transition of a like I have a character that's like halfway level that I eventually want to play in BC, but I want to finish the classic experience and then move on. Like, but those are
Yeah,
sort of I think edge cases. But that
yeah,
might be the potentially the best way to do it in terms of like you know, hey, we don't want this like economy thing of like allowing character copies to ruin something or just other things I'm not thinking of too. Like same thing with like mats or like just, you know, other things that could I can't think of a bunch of other stuff, but
yeah,
I'm assuming there's some issue about allowing players to like
yeah,
so just copy their characters willy-nilly. So the server copies might make sense or server duplicates, right? It just sucks for like a player if you're like, yeah, I want to play in a new guild in BC, right? I want to have like my Fire Tree Classic, you know, vanilla folks, and I want to have my like Mug Thor, whatever server, like BC
yeah.
friends. Um, but yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they do. And hopefully the love is there. Like BC, I think BC was when the game when I realized the game for me personally was a lot more fun and a lot more interesting than like vanilla was, right?
I mean,
Like,
I'm gonna be very. This is gonna be the real BC experience. It's gonna be me taking a character. Well, I guess that isn't the real.
yeah,
Taking a character that I basically leveled through partway through classic and just taking a level 30 character. Oh, it's BC now.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I will probably end up starting back at 1, right? And
Yeah,
I'll go through and, like, level probably a warlock again, right? Because that's what I played back then,
I do
and do
wonder.
that.
So the XP changes for the new level cap did not come into the game until patch 2.
Yeah, that's actually another good yeah.
Are they gonna start with the? I expect the answer is actually gonna be yes.
Yeah, I wonder if they
Because otherwise you have to do literally the entire 60 grind as it is in classic and then also another 10.
right. And I think what they'll if they keep the same well, the funny thing is I hope they keep the same construct as they did with Classic, which was use the last patch of BC
Yeah,
as your starting point and then layer in content on top of that last patch. I don't know if that ultimately works 'cause, like the BC patches are a little wishy-washy to me, but I think that's the way you end up doing it. I know they did that with Classic just out of like they had no other patch data, right? They only
yeah,
had the 1.12 like you know, executables or whatever. But I think in BC, if they keep that same construct, I think that makes sense because then you gain a lot of those like quality of life changes that they made over the course of that expansion.
yeah.
Um,
And we have seen the stuff like they didn't introduce Dire Maul until it was appropriate. They
right.
can hold off on introducing badge gear and that kind of thing until when it's a expansion life cycle.
Yeah. God, oh, it means so much fun to like
Oh my
reprogress
god,
on brutality.
just imagine the retail community. Like imagine if BC gets a badge vendor.
That'd be so good.
Oh my
I'm just excited.
god.
Like, there, like BC was like when I started to take rating like actually seriously because I actually started seeing fights that I was like, this is interesting. Like
Yeah.
doing Brutalis again. While Brutalis is a very simple fight, like my job on Brutalis was like cycling shamans through groups so that because like heroism at that point when
Was
we got
group
it
wide.
was only was only like group only, right? So, like, you had to, like, cycle it was either that or drums, actually, it might have been drums. It was, like, cycling through, like, certain buffs through groups because they were group only at the time, and you could still swap groups in combat.
Yeah.
So, like, that was my role as a warlock because all I did was hit Shadow
I
Bolt
mean,
over and over again.
they fixed out of combat resing in Classic didn't they? You can't do that.
No, you couldn't, but what you could do is you could shift groups. So you could move
Yeah.
people from one group to
But
the
I mean,
other.
like
Yeah.
in actual Classic, you could have someone sit out of combat in a raid
Yep.
instance
We had
and
our
res people.
we had a
You
paladin
can't
do that.
you can't do that in WoW Classic. I don't believe.
Okay, so they fixed that even before. But they fixed that though late in Classic anyway.
Okay.
So you could do that
Okay.
up to a certain point.
So I
What
guess
ended up
that might have
happening, like
just been one of the things where like 1.12, it was already fixed by that point. So they just inherited that for the entirety of WoW.
yeah,
Which
because
now that we're
eventually you
talking
get
about
the
it, I want to go play WoW Classic. Like I was gonna go and do more RBGs,
yeah.
but my druid is still only like level 28 or something. And like
Ooh, that's a tough area to be because you
yeah,
only have a couple areas to go
I
to
know.
level.
It's really bad. Um really bad. But also like I can put on, I'm really tempted now to go put on a show and go do that. But at the same time, Final Fantasy expansion announcement was this week too. I know I'm
Wait,
going
what
off
is that?
topic here.
What did you just say?
Final Fantasy expansion
It's
announcement
no.
was this.
I feel
I haven't
like the
finished the
bad. Those are
patch
bad F
content yet.
words. I
Yeah,
don't think we can. I don't
yeah.
think we
I
can say
said
those words on the
don't.
show.
No, I haven't finished the patch content for that yet, so I also want to go and do that. So
Gotcha.
I don't know. Too many
Yeah, there's
games, too little time.
the fun part of the fun part of BC would be doing the raids. The unfun part would be actually getting to that point because BC also
I
still
love BC
had
leveling.
the attunement quest, which I hope
Oh
they don't
yeah,
get rid of.
I never did
So
those.
that's the thing is like they got eventually halfway through the expansion they got rid of the attunement quest to get into like TK, Tempest Keep,
Yeah,
and Hydro, right? So they got rid of those eventually, and I hope they don't do that for the start because that was some of the like that's when like I really like the guild got together because like you had to do certain 5-man dungeons, right, for that attunement. And like we would basically like as a guild, like 5 of our strongest players would go in, clear the dungeon. You could cycle people in if you were quick enough. So we basically like do Mechagon. I think it was not Mechagon, but
Mecha. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
whatever the Tempest Keep instance
Yeah,
was. We do that as quickly as we could and then try and cycle in as many guildmates as we could into that instance so they could finish their attunement. And then like if we didn't get enough, we'd like reset, go back and do it again. Because like dude, the challenge with dungeons, God, that expansion was like, yeah, I think that's the one that basically cemented like this game is like, hey, I don't think I'll ever find something that hits that itch, right?
yeah,
Of like doing content like PV content with a group. So but yeah, sorry, I'm like nerding out that I
yeah.
really
No,
hope
like
that there's
I.
BC standards.
So, um, when I started playing WoW, I started playing on private servers. And I actually started playing around the beginning of Wrath. It was
Mhm.
like 2.4 is when I really started playing, but the first time I actually like leveled a character beyond the starting zone was in the start of Wrath. And I was again playing on a private server, basically dead. I saw one other person that I would log on every day and I would see them when we were leveling through the same content, so that was kind of cool. And then I moved on to a Blizz like Burning Crusade server. So this is kind of similar to the classic servers that were extremely popular before WoW Classic released.
Mhm.
Um, and I was very heavily involved in that, and that's why I know so much random bullshit about Burning Crusade, um,
Nice.
despite not actually playing when it was current. Uh, and I loved Burning Crusade leveling. Like I enjoy classic leveling. I think the experience rate is just a little bit too low for my tastes,
Mhm.
and would like that whatever 30% more XP that comes from having the BC stuff, and also like I actually so the thing about private servers, anything past classic, there's so many scripts that go into quests. So many
Yeah.
quests have things that are supposed to happen. RP, NPCs moving around, talking, interacting with things. Much of that stuff didn't work in the private servers. Like it just didn't work. Like and eventually, I worked on development on that. So I worked on some of those quests and we fixed some of them, but stuff like a lot of the what's the ogres, the ogre rep
Oh,
faction.
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Their
They're in
dailies didn't
Blaze
work
Edge
at all.
Mountains. Yeah,
So
interesting. Yeah, I
basically,
mean, I still remember. Sorry, just not to cut you off, but
yeah,
crazy quest stuff like that. There's a quest in Hellfire Citadel about a quarter of the way in where you get on a vehicle and you fly around. You just all you do is you bomb 3 things.
yeah,
But the first time you do that is the craziest thing ever because it's like the first quest where you like get on something that flies you around because
Yeah,
you've never flown for a quest before, and you get to like interact with the world below you. Like,
yeah. And it's
dude,
like so like when I was playing on that private server, all the classic quests, because like let's be real, most classic quests are real dumb.
yeah, oh yeah,
Like there's a there, and even stuff like the a big thing that I love to talk about is they got the events at the end of a dungeon. You know what I'm talking about. The
yeah,
event at
yeah,
the
yeah,
end,
yeah.
like
Dire Maw,
stuff like not Dire
or
Maul. No, no, no.
Nice.
Yeah,
Oh, Zul'Farrak.
Zul'Farrak. Yes, the event there worked. Like all that stuff worked in classic
Yeah,
in the private server I'm playing on. So like I already experienced the leveling process there, but a bunch of this stuff in PC zones was just totally broken.
right.
So
Yeah,
you would pick up a quest, and a lot of them that they knew were broken and were uncompletable, they would just have us so you could auto
yeah.
because they couldn't fix it, and they didn't want it to like completely block you from making any. So you
That's
um
crazy.
so like I am looking forward to actually playing through that, and yeah,
It'll be fun. I mean, like I loved all the raids in that thing too. I I wonder if with the biggest thing that held me back with classic was like the time investment to get to a point where you could do
yeah.
like MC and that type of stuff. And I think in BC it's still there, but I might actually make an effort because I think BC is a better version of
I mean, then
WoW.
again, your Destro or your Warlock, I guess it's not deck based, but your Warlock
Yeah.
rotation at the time was just Shadow Bolt.
Which is like okay, I'll tell you a
Shadow
quick
Bolt
little
and
secret,
apparently
Emmilton.
group, like wildly moving people around in groups.
Yeah, I'll tell you as soon as they changed that with Wrath, I became a paladin and healed. So
That's the
this
genesis of Healer and
yeah, it is. They changed it where I could only hit one button, so I had to find a class where I could only hit one button. Holy Paladin was that at the time in Wrath. So, uh, but yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if they actually do classic Burning Crusade servers. Like I'd be down for it. I'd play it for sure. I don't know how like my longevity. I don't think is there, right? I don't think I'm the target audience for that
Yeah.
because
I do
I
think
think
like
retail.
I have talked in the past about like quitting raiding in retail just because of the time investment that's
Mhm.
required, and I don't think I will ever really go beyond pug raiding in the classic games. But if I ever stop raiding in retail, I know I will definitely, you know, still have a sub and still like hop on classic and do some leveling because that's just like a nice chill game to play. I
Oh yeah,
I definitely until we reach like once we reach like warlords level nonsense of leveling and even mob like leveling was and
yeah.
no longer fun. But first three expansions, I'll take it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, cool. Any other classic teasers? I think this is just the big one is potentially BC stuff,
Yeah,
but yeah, we'll see on that front. So cool. I think that's it. Any other hot BlizzCon speculation or
I
takes
think we
on what
already
we
hit the
think
big
of it?
one, guessing about raid bosses.
Yeah, yeah, the Raid Boss one was good. So, all right, cool. All right, so then let's move into I think my favorite section. You ready for this?
Yes,
Q&A. So, as always, it's question and answer time with Emerson and Nam, and we will answer your questions. So you guys can, send these in, whether it's over like Twitter or on Discord or even jump into the live stream as we do this sort of live on Saturday nights, and ask us whatever questions you want. So we pull them from there and answer them. So the first one is actually going to come from our live audience, and it's from Abe. And old Abe asks, could we have a peak eating contest, maybe 100 nuggets?
I
Um,
refuse to participate.
I also refuse. However, Abe asked this specifically because he was a part of an eating contest I did a couple months ago. Did I talk about this?
Not a couple
Wait,
months ago, I don't think. Well,
okay,
when a couple months ago? Is this like September? Because I
yeah,
remember
like
that.
September,
Okay, yeah,
October ish time frame. So I did an eating contest with a couple of my friends. We got the great idea that it'd be fun to do eating
yeah.
contests. So I did the nugget challenge. I got destroyed by a buddy of mine. Um, and I think I ate like 50 nuggets and have yet to eat a chicken nugget from any fast food place.
Yeah, I don't blame
Um,
you.
so that was real bad. They were Wendy's Spicies. Do not do that. Just get regular Wendy's nuggets or maybe McDonald's nuggets. Spicy was the bad choice. Um, that was yeah. And then I also did tacos, soft tacos from Taco Bell. Crushed that. Also have not eaten Taco Bell since then
Good
or
for your
any
health.
fast food tacos. So,
Yeah. I yeah.
but would you
I
do
know
would you do a 100 nugget challenge? Like, would you do the 100 nugget
no.
challenge?
Not
No.
even not even a little bit. And some of it, like, I actually have a legit excuse. It's not just being a wimp.
Yeah.
So when I ended up in the hospital last year, one of the things that can trigger that is so
Gotcha. So a
never
health
happening.
hazard, yeah. We're
Yeah.
not hurting Emerson Abbey. I can't believe you would suggest something like this to hurt him. This
um.
is ridiculous.
So and it's like now that I know that like it's very easy for me to avoid having things get as severe as they were, and I can like push
Yeah.
the boundaries a little bit. But 100 nuggets is like way over the line.
So I will tell you 100 nuggets is a lot of fucking nuggets. So I bought 100 nuggets for my nugget challenge cuz I thought I could get through that. It's a lot of nuggets.
Yeah.
Literally had like bags stacked on my desk of Wendy's nuggets. My house smelled of Wendy's nuggets for like a week. Bad idea.
Yeah,
So no,
it
I will not be participating. You can get other people, Abe, but
um again, after I was in the hospital, like I got a bunch of chicken noodle soup because that's like very safe food.
oh
I
yeah.
still have cans left of that because like I don't know, you just eat it a bunch for
Mhm.
like it wasn't even that long. It was like 4 or 5 days, and it's like if that's your lunch and dinner, oh my god, it gets old so fast. I have not had chicken noodles since. I don't like. I do not think I could stomach having it right now.
I had a similar thing too with mashed potatoes. And like I had all four of my wisdom teeth pulled at once. And I was
Okay.
so worried about getting dry sockets and like that whole thing of like messing with your teeth where essentially they just like if you eat something weird and it pulls the scab, it just bleeds forever, whatever.
Yeah.
So they're like, just eat like soft foods for a week. So I was like, look, I'm just getting a bunch of instant mashed potatoes, super easy to make. I can make them by myself. Awesome. Literally by day 2,
You
I
were
hated my
done.
life, dude, and I ate them for 5 or 6 days straight. I basically ate them for a week because I went for one appointment and then, like, I had my follow-up the week later, and they're like, "You're good." For a week straight. There was a certain point where I was literally putting, like, hot cayenne pepper on this stuff. I'm like, "What other seasoning can I put in it?" Like, I was using cinnamon at one point just to be like, "I need something different." And
Yeah.
to this day, I see this. It's a red. It might have been Uncle Ben's. I don't know what brand it was, but it's like this red box of instant mashed potatoes. If I see the grocery store, I literally get sick to my stomach because I'm
Yeah.
like, I can't eat like luckily I can eat like regular mashed potatoes now. Like I'm good there, but like
Yeah.
the instant kind, I'm still gross. But yeah,
Yeah.
similar situation like where it's just like you eat that same food for like maybe a couple days in a row and you're just like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Fine.
That's exactly what happened to me. And the bad side is like I can't eat instant ramen right now. Like
Oh
it's the
no.
same thing. And there's kinds of
Oh
instant ramen that I can't eat because there are other triggers for that stuff. Like any of the super spicy instant ramens, I just can't do.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. But yeah,
but
oh god.
the less spicy ones I can do. I just won't because it reminds me too much of the chicken noodle soup.
Chicken noodle soup, yeah. Fair enough,
No,
fair
I
enough.
did get some pho recently from a
Oh,
local
okay.
place, and that was fantastic, and I loved it. Again,
Nice, nice, nice. We should get something in you, but that's funny, yeah. So yeah, Abby, no eating contests ever from I mean you can get some other people into this, but Emilson and I are out, I think.
yeah.
Unsanctioned event. All right, cool. All right, so then we have another question on the list here from Soji. Soji asks, a regular, of course. What were your favorite TV shows when growing up and why? So I don't know, Emerson, if you want to take this first, if you want me to.
I did not watch a lot of TV. We didn't have cable for much of my time growing up. We had satellite for a little bit, but it was like sometimes we'd have it, sometimes we wouldn't. So there was just a bunch of my childhood where we just didn't really have TV. Like I could watch
Mhm.
local stuff, but our antenna sucked and it was really like staticky, so I didn't.
Yeah, I mean,
But from the time that we had it, it was probably Rescue Rangers.
oh, okay, interesting choice. Interesting choice.
Um, because that was one of the channels we had on satellite when we had it. and I don't know of the like we didn't have Cartoon Network, so it can't be a Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
So it's basically like Disney shows and syndicated shows that show up on radio, the internet,
Yeah.
and I guess it's probably that or maybe Arthur because those are the only two shows I actually remember watching like more than one.
Gotcha. I so I'm also have a very bad answer is that like I did not watch a lot of TV. So like in my house growing up, we got essentially TV time, which is like we got a set amount of time every day. We could be on the TV and eventually became like TV slash computer time. Like once we
Mhm.
got a computer. So it was like
Yeah,
in those in that time, like I literally was like, I'm not if like fortunately like DVRs weren't a thing, streaming wasn't a thing. So like if my TV time didn't overlap with anything I wanted to watch, I didn't want to waste it like flipping channels.
yeah,
So I literally played a lot of video games. Like,
yeah. That was actually some of it too. Is like I had a limited amount of screen time,
yeah.
and well, in theory, I had a limited amount of screen time. In practice, I got way more than I was supposed because I was a sneaky child. Um, but I also played a lot of video games. That was
Yeah.
actually I do remember that now. That like I had the choice of video games or TV, and whenever possible, like my uncle gave me his old PS1 with a bunch of games for it.
Oh, nice.
So I play video games.
Yeah. I will say that we did have in my family like a Friday tradition, which was we always got pizza on Fridays. So it's like just our thing. And then we did watch like TGIF. So like if we have to pick a TV show that maybe not was my favorite, but one that I saw a lot, it was like Full House, the the Family Matters, which was like
Yeah,
Steve Urkel's thing. Um, so it was Full House, Family Matters, the one where they're like a big family and maybe it
Brady
was like
Bunch.
no, it was like Tim the Tool, like the Home Improvement.
Okay,
I think
Homer.
was
Yeah,
that on TGIF?
I don't know.
I don't think so. There was another one after Family Matters, but there was like 3 shows in a row. It was like Full House, Family Matters, and like something else that played for like an hour and a half. And like that was our like either as we're eating dinner if we were lucky or like after dinner where like my parents cleaned up and maybe like sat down for a little before it was like time to get ready for bed. Like those were the TV shows I like. I don't know.
Yeah,
I didn't wake up and watch Saturday morning cartoons like
yeah.
because like while they were
I
people
remember.
say they're great, but like I don't know.
So my uncle's great. Love my uncle. When he came to visit one time, I remember him like I didn't get up and watch Saturday morning. He was up on a Saturday morning. He was channels eating his cereal. It was like this was at one of the points we didn't have satellite. Like your Saturday morning cartoons suck. I was like,
Yeah,
okay,
well,
I haven't watched them. I guess that's probably why.
yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, I don't like it's funny, like the only shows that really stick out to the now that I'm thinking is like the Batman animated adventure one. So like
Yeah,
there was the Batman animated series, it was a little darker that like that cartoon was probably like the only cartoon that really stays with me. But yeah, it was like TGIF was like the only time we had TV and then it was like a lot of just sports. My family was big on sports being on the TV a lot and then yeah, video games if I had a chance to actually have the
yeah,
TV. So
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, like
Played a lot of video
I
games.
basically video games were the main thing that I did with my TV time up until the point that I had more computer access and started using that time. Like when I was 11, I started doing programming stuff. So at that point, I was able to like argue that, oh, I'm doing something productive so I can get more screen time, right? And that was around the time, like, I think I was 11 or 12 when I started playing MMOs. I found this free Korean MMO called Conquer Online. I remember that.
Oh,
It's still
nice.
going, it's still up.
Really?
Um,
You were a much nicer 10 or 11-year-old on the computer than I was.
Oh, no, that's not all I did. That was one of
Okay.
the things that I did.
I still remember the when we were on AOL, there was like this script you could send people that let you control their computer. So like
Okay. I never did anything
I
like that.
I used to do that all the time. Like you could like open people's CD drives on their computers or whatever and like shut it down if you wanted and all
Wow,
this type
yeah.
of stuff. So yeah, I was a little like script kiddie
Yeah. Yep.
back in the day. So
Wow.
I spent a
Hey,
lot of
learn.
time doing that. So,
Um, no, the worst I did was four.
oh, yeah, no, I literally bricked someone's computer,
Ow.
maybe more than once.
Ah,
So that's when I really got into like tunneling and being able to like RDP into not RDP, but like
yeah.
essentially RDP into different machines. And yeah, that was the Wild West back then, where you could just email, like you just ping someone on AOL Instant Messenger. If they clicked the link, you were in. It was great. And then
The
I
bad
got,
old days of internet security.
yeah, it was nobody cared about anything. It was awesome. But yeah, so Soji, now that we're slightly off topic here, Emmelston and I didn't really watch a lot of TV,
Yeah.
but we played a lot of video games. So maybe next time you can ask what our favorite video games were when we were growing up.
Maybe instead of favorite, most memorable, because I think I have different answers for both.
Oh, that's a good question. Maybe someone asked that.
I should ask
We
a
should.
question. Show. Not
You
like
could
I
ask
help
questions.
write this script. Although you did today's, so
Yes,
you
that's
do
true.
a lot of it every.
That's true. But
But
yeah,
I think that about is gonna wrap it up for today.
yes. Our short. So, but before we go through this, the short episode today that was only about an
two
hour
hours
and
and
45 minutes.
2 hours and 2 minutes.
Awesome.
We've been live for 2 hours and 2 minutes.
Nice, nice.
So it's gonna be a little bit shorter than that in the edit because we talked for a couple minutes before we started, but
That's true.
not if I keep talking.
That's true.
But I think that is going to wrap it up for our show today. Thank you all for listening. Either here live on Twitch, this will be on YouTube later in the week, and it will be up. Listen to this on the podcast on the Peak of Serenity website. If you want to support it and the other work that we do over on the Peak of Serenity, you can do that by supporting us on Patreon over at patreon.com/Peak of Serenity. Or you can do that by coming and helping out in the community Discord. Just coming and hanging out. Brew Lounge is a good time. Basically, any time of day. We've got people from all over the world in there. It's a great place. So,
Not Miss Lounge or Wind Lounge, just Brew
well,
Lounge.
I can't speak to those because let's be honest, I have those categories.
Yeah, Miss Lounge is a cesspool. Don't come hang out with us.
Yeah, I heard Abe's there.
Yeah, gross.
Got Abe and a nom there. Like, how can you? How can you? Bad place. Uh Anyway, that is going to wrap it up for today's episode. Thank you all for listening, and we'll be back next week, same time, same place, for episode 50. Bye.
Bye.